The Lost Campers. Alright. Let's read The Lost Campers. We're in chapter 3. When old Sugar Creek calmed down after having lost his temper so terribly, his face was as kind and gentle as the lamb's. He had left some of his water standing in little lakes on nearly all of our farms. There were fish in them, which we caught not with a pole and line, but by wading around in the water with our overalls rolled up. We'd wade about until the water got so muddy and thick like gravy that the fish had to stick their noses up for air. Then all we had to do was to walk over, cup our hands under them one at a time, and pull them out, holding on tight so they wouldn't get away. Pretty soon it was summer, and growing hotter all the time, and getting closer and closer to the 5th of July, which was the date on which we were supposed to leave for northern Minnesota on our camping trip. We spent the 4th of July without shooting off any firecrackers because one of the boys in our town had burned his hand badly the year before. That had made all our parents extra cautious, so they wouldn't let us have firecrackers. And whoever writes the book gives many pitches for safety and things like that, and this is one of them. I do remember a little girl whose hand was pretty messed up. I mean, not just burnt. It looked a little mangled to me, like it would never be right again because of a firecracker. You don't realize, because the thing looks so tiny, how much power is in that little booger. And so, you're ever hanging out with somebody and they got firecrackers? You better be careful. Alright, but we didn't much care because nobody else was doing it. There was plenty of excitement at our house on the 4th to satisfy me anyway. Just getting things ready. All the gang had agreed to meet at the spring at 2 o'clock to talk things over and maybe have a last swim in Sugar Creek. Old Man Paddler's nephew, Barry Boylan, had come from California with his new house trailer. He'd parked it under a big oak tree close to the spring and had been living there for about a week. There was something especially nice about Mr. Boylan that we all liked. Barry had been a scout once, still was one, I guess, and he knew all the things a first-class scout has to know to be one. Nearly all the gang had already taken their camping equipment to the trailer, and it was planned that we would leave early the next morning. I still had to take my overnight kit down and pack it in with the rest of my luggage, the overnight kit being a long, rectangular piece of waterproof material with pockets for toothbrush, soap, comb, brush, small mirror, and washcloth. When everything was all in it, you rolled it up into a little package. I hadn't wanted to take a washcloth, but Mom said I had to. Pretty soon it was noon at our house on the 4th. It was a terribly hot day again, making me glad we were going up north to where it would be nice and cool. Mom and Dad and Charlotte Ann and I were sitting around our kitchen table, where we nearly always ate at noon, except when we had company. I was finishing my piece of blackberry pie, which Mom had baked especially for me because it was my favorite pie. It was the last piece of Mom's pie I'd get for 2 whole weeks. I was all a tingle inside, thinking about tomorrow, feeling very happy, yet kind of sad too. I looked across the table at Charlotte Ann, my 1-year-old baby sister. Because she was sleepy, she was leaning over in her high chair. The way a willow tree down along Sugar Creek leans over the water. And her pretty blue eyes were half shut. her little round head, with its tangle of black curls, was nodding the way a baby's head does, and I felt strange in my heart, as if I was in a big vice that was being squeezed shut on me. She's a great little sister, I thought. In fact, she's wonderful. What makes a boy feel that way towards his sister anyway? Then I took another bite of pie, using the best table manners I could think of, so my parents would have something pleasant to remember me by while I was away. I looked at Mom, who was chewing her pie, and at some new gray hair that was mixed with the brown, and which I had never noticed before. Then I looked at Dad, sitting at the head of the table with his sleeves rolled up. The muscles of his brown arms were moving like big ropes that were alive, and they kept moving all the time and making the brown skin bulge out in different places. They're great parents, I thought, and I'll bet they'll miss me while I'm away. And all of a sudden I wasn't hungry. May I be excused? I asked as courteously as I could. That week I'd been reading a book on courtesy, which my parents had bought for me, and which all boys ought to read. And the book had made me decide that if I ever wanted to be anybody important in the world, I'd have to have good manners, even when I was at home. Excused? Mom asked, with a question mark on the end of her voice. Why, you haven't finished your pie, Bill. I baked it especially for you. I looked down at my plate and could hardly believe my eyes. I had actually left some of my pie, which goes to show that even blackberry pie isn't the most important thing in the world to a boy who likes his folks. I finished the pie and excused myself again, reminding Mom to be sure to call me soon as the dishes were ready to be dried. I went outdoors and down to the barn to say goodbye to the horses and cows and pigs and chickens. And especially to our old black and white mother cat, who we call Mixie, and who had a whole nest full of brand new black and white and brown and yellow kittens, with the different colors all mixed up. Old Mole and Jim, Dad's favorite plow horses, were standing quietly in a big box stall, facing each other. Jim's nose was pushing up against Mole's neck, right where it was fastened onto her head, the way my parents stand sometimes when they're looking down at Charlotte Ann. Just as I was stooping down to pet Mixie and to tell her not to feel bad because I was going away and not to worry, I heard a squawky voice behind me. Hi there, Bill Collins. It was Poetry, who had come puffing into the barn without my knowing he was there. I jumped as if I was shot, turned around partway, and said, Hi there yourself. Why don't you tell a guy when you're coming? It almost made me jump out of my shoes. I looked down at my feet, and I didn't have shoes on. Sorry, Poetry said, meaning he wasn't. What you looking at so sober-faced? He came over to where I was and stood peering down into the corner at Mixie and her big family of awkward little kittens. All of them had their eyes still shut because they weren't old enough yet to have them open, which baby kittens aren't until they're 2 weeks old. All of them were eating their dinner in the way baby kittens do. That is, some of them were. The others were waggling and nosing around and getting in each other's way and stumbling over each other and falling down, which didn't hurt them. They were so little they didn't have far to fall, which is why it doesn't hurt a boy to fall down nearly as much as it does a grown-up person. Old Mixie was looking happy, and her black and white tail was waving a little on the end very cheerfully, as if she was trying to say, "You aren't the only one to have a nice family. Look at mine." Seeing the kittens reminded Poetry of a poem, no way, which she started to quote. 6 little pigs in the straw with their mother, bright eyes, curly tails, tumbling on each other. Bring them apples from the orchard trees, and hear those piggies say, "Please, please, please." You sleep, bud? Alright, I think Buddy is gone. There is my starting spot. Have a good night, everyone. We love you all.